Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Bit of a feedback video, go through some of the comments, see what's happening there, and also give you an update on what's happening in the country at the moment. And to be honest, there's lots of things happening around the country at the moment. Well, not only in Spain, but in Europe as well. We've seen France has decided to lock down again, and Spain, of course, more and more places around the country are closing. And basically, I think it's just a question of time before the whole country shuts down, or at least you won't be able to travel internally in the country from region to region, from autonomous community to autonomous community, which is what is happening at the moment. But things are still open, restaurants are still open, shops are still open, bars are still open here in this part of the world. I know that in Catalonia bars are closed, but here in Madrid they are open until 12 midnight, so you can still go out for a drink, you can still go out and have something to eat. So that is a positive thing. But as I said, things are starting to shut down slowly, and all of these mobility restrictions that we have in place at the moment. Now, I just said that shops are still open. You can see that I got my hair cut today, and it might be the last haircut that I have for a while. My hair was getting a little bit out of control, so I decided to get it cut today. Just in case hairdressers and salons and barbershops shut down in the next coming weeks, like they did earlier in the year. I'm hoping that's not going to happen. I'm hoping that businesses are able to stay open to some extent, but you never know. So better to be safe than sorry where hair is concerned. Now, as I just said, the country is slowly closing down. When I woke up this morning, there were 9 autonomous communities in Spain that had closed their borders, and now at 1 p.m. there are currently 11 of the 17 autonomous communities closed. So there's not many places open that you can travel to freely at the moment. Madrid has just announced that it is going to close for this long weekend. Cantabria also announced that it's going to close. So I think the only autonomous communities on mainland Spain that are open at the moment are Galicia, Catalonia, the Valencian community, and Extremadura. And of course, the Balearic Islands are open and the Canary Islands are open as well. But if you can't leave Madrid, if you can't leave Andalusia, if you can't leave Castilla y León or wherever you are in the country, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Andalusia decided to close, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, but it's interesting what's happening there because not only have they shut the borders to the autonomous community, so nobody can go in or out without a justified reason, they've also shut down areas inside Andalusia. So for example, the Seville province is closed, and I think Granada is also closed, and maybe there's another one as well, I'm not 100% sure. So there's different closed areas inside a closed area, so quite difficult to understand what's going on at the moment, but this is what the governments and this is what politicians feel that they need to do in order to get the situation under control. And as I have mentioned in other videos, this is a last roll of the dice, if you like, in order to save that Christmas season. I think that's the main objective of the country at the moment. We saw that's what's happening in France. I think the French president came out yesterday and said that he's closing the country down for a month in order to save that festive season in France. And I think here in Spain, all of these new rules and regulations, the curfews, the mobility restrictions, places closing down, is in order to save some type of Christmas season, to allow people to travel around the country at Christmas time, to allow families to get together, because that would be a tragedy for a lot of people if they weren't able to celebrate Christmas as they normally do. And it's fascinating to see the way that different European countries are handling this second wave of the pandemic. As I just mentioned, France closing down, Belgium is also getting quite strict at the moment, but Spain is probably the country that is most open out of those three currently as I speak. As I said, you can't travel around the country very freely, but there aren't any real restrictions on what you can do during the day, except for the amount of people that you can get together with. I think that's limited to 6, but apart from that, you can still go to your sports practice, you can still go to the gym, you're still allowed to do exercise, so we don't have anywhere near as severe restrictions as we had earlier in the year. But of course, as I have mentioned in other videos in recent days, we are heading to something more serious. Don't know exactly what that's going to be, but fingers crossed we don't go back to a severe lockdown like we had earlier in the year. The health minister came out today and said that it's going to be a long winter here in Spain. He's trying to justify this 6-month state of alarm that his government has proposed. They're trying to get a state of alarm in place for the next 6 months. The opposition parties don't want that. They want a shorter state of alarm, or they want to review it every 2 months. I think that is what they have said. They don't want the government to have these absolute powers for the next 6 months, and they want to see what the health situation is like, whether it improves, and whether we can get back to some type of normal life here in Spain and in other European countries. But I'll be honest, it's not looking good. I mentioned in yesterday's video that there has been some rioting going on around the country. I think Seville city saw some rioting. Barcelona saw some rioting as well. And I don't know whether I'm the only person that thinks like this, but it seems to be that the people that are rioting at the moment, the people that are setting off the flares in the streets, the people that are burning the container bins are the same people that always riot violently in cities here in Spain, whether they're football thugs, whether they're the independent protesters that Catalonia is famous for, I don't know, but they seem to have the same modus operandi. Last year they were rioting for independence. This year they're rioting because of the curfew. They riot when there's a G20 meeting on. They riot whenever they have the opportunity to cause this civil disobedience and disrupt normal people's lives. Unfortunately, that's the society that we live in at the moment, and this is just another excuse for them to do it, in my opinion. Now, the topic of masks was back in the comment section again. I thought that we'd put this topic behind us, but it popped up again in yesterday's video. Somebody said that now you have to wear a mask even when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a coffee shop, when you sit down, you have to have your mask on, and you're only allowed to take it off when you are ingesting food. I think that is the new rule that has been brought in various places around Spain. I think in Andalusia, I have seen that this is the case, that now when you go into a restaurant and have something to eat, you have to be sitting at the table with your mask on. This, of course, is a new rule. Before, that wasn't the case. When you went into the establishment, you had to wear your mask, but when you sat down at the table, you were able to take it off. But apparently in some places around Spain, this has changed. I don't think that this is the case in Madrid, because I see people every day sitting down, having their food, having their drink, and there doesn't seem to be a problem. But obviously some autonomous communities around Spain and the governments there have decided that this is a risky activity and you have to have that mask on in all situations. So basically you have to wear a mask now everywhere you go in the country, and you're only allowed to take it off when you are in the comfort of your own home or car. But I even see a lot of people driving around with masks on. So go figure on that. And I think this whole COVID pandemic will go down in history as the social virus, that every time we socialize, we put ourselves at risk of catching the virus. And the only thing that seems to have been successful in stopping this virus is stopping that socializing aspect in our daily lives. Now, the other day in the comment section, somebody called me naive, but unfortunately they spelt the word wrong. They spelt it N-I-E-V-E, which in Spanish means nieve, snow. So they got the spelling a bit wrong there, and there were lots of comments on the video about me calling that out. Somebody said that maybe they were trying to say that I was a snowflake. I didn't really know what that means. Somebody said that I shouldn't be so hard on the guy because he only forgot to put an A in there. Well, I don't think that's the case. If you check the spelling of the word naive, even if you do insert an A in there, you have to take out an E. So I think the problem was that the person tried to spell the word phonetically, naive, N-I-E-V-E, naive, instead of the true spelling of the word. And to be honest, there's lots of spelling mistakes in the comment section. I put this down a lot of the times to autocorrect, and that maybe people are writing quickly and not checking what they're writing. Now, I don't want to be a spelling Nazi here, but if you're going to insult people, as I said the other day, at least try to get the word spelt correctly. And I've also had a few people suggest that I turn the comment section off. I have noticed on some other YouTube videos that people are turning the comment section off. And to be honest, some of the comments in the comment section are a little bit toxic, but I normally like to leave the comment section on because I like to encourage debate, and I think that people should be able to express their opinion. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. It's going to stay open. Debate the situation out as best you can. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.